Hello everyone, thank you for joining me. Welcome to day 2 of my 12 days of Crafty Christmas. Today I'm going to be creating a card with the Horse and Sleigh stamp set. The Horse and Sleigh stamp set comes as part of a bundle with dies as well that coordinate. I'm not going to be using the dies today, but I did just bring them in just to show you. So I'm going to pop those to one side. We're going to be using the Horse and Sleigh stamp set and also some of the One Horse Open Sleigh designer series paper as well. So I've already mounted my stamps onto acrylic blocks ready, and I have cut my card base, my piece of DSP and one of my cardstock elements ready to go. So this is just a standard size card base, half a sheet of A4 scored at 10.5, and then my DSP I've cut so that it's 5mm shorter in both directions, just to give me that nice skinny border all the way around. Then this piece of early espresso is 1.5 inches by 10.5 centimeters, so it will come the full width of the card, or full height I should say, of the card. The card is going to be a landscape card. I have two other pieces of cardstock that I need to cut. So the 3 colours of cardstock that we're using today are Early Espresso, Mossy Meadow and Crumb Cake. So I've already cut my Early Espresso pieces, but I need to cut my Crumb Cake panel and my Mossy Meadow as well. So the Crumb Cake piece that I'm going to cut is 2.5 inches by 5 inches. 2.5 by 5, and then the Mossy Meadow piece is going to be 2 3/4 by 5 1/4. So 2 3/4 by 5 1/4. Okay, so that's all of our cutting done. So I'm going to be stamping onto the Crumb Cake piece. So I'm going to put those other bits to one side. The ink that I'm going to be using is the Early Espresso. And I am going to be doing some blending with the Stamp and Blends. Now, it's not really recommended to use the coloured ink together with the alcohol markers. But for this particular image, you can kind of get away with it. So I'm just stamping my Horse and Sleigh onto my Crumb Cake, and then I'm going to bring in the grounding piece, which again I'm going to stamp in that Early Espresso. Not sure which way up to pop it. I think I'm going to go there. And I'm going to stamp my sentiment as well while I'm here. So I'm using the Sending Warmth Your Way, which is from the same stamp set, and I'm just going to stamp that at the top there, like so. And I'm going to close up my ink pad before I put my hand in it and get ink everywhere. And then I'm going to bring in my blends. So I am going to start off with our horse. So I'm just going to grab out the colours that I'm using for the horse. So I am using SU 200, I'm using SU 100 and SU 600. So I'm going to start with our mid brown, and I'm going to colour in the mane, the tail and the hooves of our horse. The nice thing about this stamped image is that actually you don't have to be too careful with your colouring, so it does kind of lend itself to being stamped in a coloured ink and then ink blended. The reason that that's kind of not recommended is because when you add the alcohol to the water-based ink pads, it kind of reignites the ink and can make it run and bleed a little bit. But I'm not too worried about that with this image. It kind of blending a little bit I think will make it look a little bit more realistic. So I'm using the SU100 and I'm just going to colour the rest of his, I want to call it a bridle. If that's not what it's called, I'm sure somebody can correct me. And then I'm going to colour the body of the horse in SU600. So make sure we do his ears. And then I'm just going to do a really kind of basic colouring. Now, because I've used the early espresso ink and then using the alcohol markers, I'm not too worried about coming in and adding shading on my horse, because the areas that I would add shading are the areas where there's the extra lines and where my alcohol blends are kind of reactivating that ink. It's kind of giving me that shading in that process. So I'm not going to worry about adding extra shading to our horse, but I will add some shading to our sleigh. So just finish colouring the horse, and then we will move on to the people, and then I will do the sleigh last. So, there he is, that's our horse ready. So I'm going to go for, so I've got Old Olive here, this is the light Old Olive, and I'm going to colour the kind of what I assume are blankets in that Old Olive. And then I'm going to use dark smoky slate for the lady's jacket. And then I'm going to use dark night of navy for the gentleman's jacket. If I can get the lid off. There we go. So dark night of navy for the gentleman's jacket. Make sure we get that cuff as well. And then I'm going to take light cherry cobbler and I'm going to colour the lady's hand muff. And I'm also going to colour their Santa hats as well. Then I'm going to use light crumb cake just to add a little bit of shading to the Santa hat. And then I'm going to use SU900 for the faces and the gentleman's hand. And then we move on to our sleigh, which I'm going to colour in cherry cobbler. So I've got light and dark cherry cobbler. As always, I'm going to be starting with the light, and I'm going to colour the whole of my image in that cherry cobbler colour. Then when I've done that, I will come back in and add some shading with the dark. The nice thing with these images is that you don't have to be super careful because it gives you a nice big space to colour in. Okay, then I'm going to come in with my dark cherry cobbler and I'm just going to add some shading along the S, a little bit kind of around this bottom corner and along the bottom of our sleigh. And then this top section here, so kind of coming down the back where it's a little bit in shadow. And actually, I don't think I even need to blend that out particularly with the light, but I will come in just a little bit, just in some of those areas. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to put my lines away, and then I'm going to bring back in my other pieces and we can put our card together. So I'm going to pop some Tombow on the back of our crumb cake panel, which I'm then going to pop onto our mossy meadow. For a nice even border all the way around. Then I'm going to pop make sure my card base is the right way up, and then I'm going to pop my DSP onto my card base, like so. Again, aiming for that nice even border. One of the lovely things about Tombow, giving you that little bit of wiggle room. Then I'm going to pop my piece of early espresso. I'm going to pop it kind of over to the left, like so. And then you could either pop this on with glue or tear and tape, or you could pop it up with dimensionals. And I think actually I'm going to pop mine up. And I've got a new packet of Stampin' Dimensionals. So just pop some on. That's just going to add some nice dimension to our card. Now I'm going to put quite a few on because this card will probably be winging its way to a recipient through the post, and I want that dimension to stay there as it goes through the postal system. Then whip off the backs, and I will be finding backs of dimensionals everywhere. Because somehow they get everywhere. It doesn't matter how careful you are with them, you'll find them here, there and everywhere. And then I'm just going to position that nice and central. And there we go. There's our card for today. So thank you for joining me for day 2, and I hope that I will see you again tomorrow for day 3, where I will be making another project with a different stamp set. Thank you so much for joining me. Take care. Bye.